You're listening to Blue Collar Takes with your hosts Pat and Ben.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody. Pat, what's up, man?
What's happening, Ben?
Time two, huh? Second
Well,
attempt.
at some point, we're going to get this figured out.
Hey, you know what? It wouldn't be us if we didn't have a couple,
The audio just be terrible.
yeah, trial by air,
Sorry.
whatever. It will get better.
At some point.
So yeah, this is our second attempt at this. We tried to going back to the old, I should say the first uh software that we used that didn't work so well. So now we're back on Zoom.
It works really good. I think it's just our internet connections.
Yeah. Oh well.
So it's tough, which shocks me that this works because this is recording video too.
Yeah.
And the other one doesn't. Like you would think that it wouldn't work.
Well, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's a
We
lot out there.
We started off the last one we just scrubbed talking about Elon and Trump in the interview. Massive
hmm
reach. You were talking about massive reach. Give me some numbers.
Well, so when I went to bed, it was like 71 million that had viewed it.
Mhm.
And then the next morning, Elon had tweeted out that there was like a billion views of some type, right? So I'm not really sure how that works, how they
Yeah.
get that number.
And we had talked about it a little bit. What I had heard from him talking in other interviews is he was saying that that's taking all of the people watching the meeting, I guess they're calling it X space or whatever they're calling it, right?
Yeah, it's
This
like spaces or something.
Yeah, whatever they called it. There's either watching the whole thing from start to finish or a portion of it, or after that, it's people taking clips and sound bites because he was trying to break it down into a condensed version so that people could get about an hour long portion of it.
Yeah, so
And
did you see that whole thing?
mm-mm,
That people were like, I didn't really see a whole lot of it, but there was something out there about Trump with his lisp, like because it had compressed down, because they compressed it down, like the actual, like the original one, he doesn't
yeah,
have it. But, or I'm sorry, it was the video, they took one on the Trump side, right, of him like doing it.
yeah,
And
from
he
the
doesn't
table.
have he doesn't have the lisp at all. But if you listen to the recording, there's a lisp and everybody, I'm not sure if they were just saying he's got a lisp or if they were like, there's something medically wrong with him.
Oh, of
Like
course. Yeah.
I don't know. So all I
Well,
saw was that like the list was simply from the compression, which
right.
we both have one because I'm not good at editing. But
Which whatever, who cares? Uh yeah, I mean there was so much floating around out there with this. I mean, we talked on earlier. You had, you know, the Theory Breton from Britain, let's say that three times fast, threatening Elon prior to this meeting and after. Um, and Elon telling her to go pound sand. That was pretty awesome. You had uh, Kamala and Walls come out with a statement before. I mean, you had so much stuff taking place before this all went down that it was just absolute trash. The amount of censorship that was being attempted. We talked about the denial of service, the DOS attack that was launched against this, which is par for the course. Um, and it's the left is just prior to is just melting down, and then even more so afterwards, because I think it was a very successful uh conversation that Elon and Trump had. I mean, that's what the format was. It was a conversation like, I think we can do better with this, or I think we can do better with that. At times Trump was a little bit too campaigny instead of just having a normal talk, I thought, but a lot of information, a lot of message that will not get out there in the media is now out there.
yeah, I did think that he at times did that, and that's to be expected.
Hmm.
But I thought overall it was a pretty good, like he got corrected by Elon on a couple things, and there wasn't, everybody's like, oh, you can't correct him, he'll melt down. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like he just kind of rolled with it. So I
Hmm.
thought that was good to see. Um, but just the scale of like, I mean, they talked about everything from from nuclear fallout to nuclear power. And
Did you see how MSNBC twisted that?
oh yeah, yep. They
Unbelievable.
was it
Unbelievable.
MSV? Was it them or CNN?
I thought it was MSNBC. It could be CNN.
It
It
was
what
one of
doesn't
them
matter.
did one.
One
Yeah.
or the other, they're the same entity at this point. But
Hmm.
one of them twisted it to make Elon and Trump say that using nuclear weapons was no big deal. That is not at
Yeah.
all what was said.
Essentially, like saying like the nuclear fallout afterwards was good. Like,
Well,
oh, okay, cool.
basically that. Oh, look at it was about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? That's what they were talking about, and how they have really rebounded, and Japan's rebounded, and completely cut out the whole part about nuclear weapons. It's a scary thing, right? And like anything bad about nuclear weapons, and made it edited it, a selective edit like media always does. They edited the whole conversation to make it be a 10-second soundbite of Elon and Trump agreeing that nuclear weapons are okay because Japan's fine now. And that's exactly how they portrayed it to their audience. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding.
Well, and they clipped up two different things, right? Like
Hmm.
they clipped up the reaction to Fukushima, right?
Yep.
Like Elon was talking about how he went there and ate, like to show that it wasn't like
Radioactive
whatever.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so they clipped up that part where Trump said, "Oh, that's good," like, and then they added that to the nuclear weapons part. Like,
Right. They selectively edited like they always do, right? I mean,
of course.
I've heard it, and Bongino says this a lot. The media tells you a story. They very rarely tell you the story, right? And there's a big difference in that. A story is made up, obviously, and the story would have the truth in it, and they just don't do that. Um, Even before all this, like I said, Walls and Harris and Walls, whatever, put out a message to everyone, all their followers, and I want to read it because it's such a joke. So this is what they put out. Right now, Elon Musk is interviewing Donald Trump live on Twitter. We're not calling it X. That's the first line.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's not enough that Musk has pledged to donate millions of dollars to help re-elect Trump. He's using his purchase platform, one of the largest social media sites in the world, to spread Trump's unhinged and hateful agenda to millions of users. If that's all you need to hear, chip in $25 now to help Kamala and Tim have the resources to respond to their lies. Otherwise, let us remind you why this is a big deal. The richest person in the world is a lackey for Team MAGA. Musk already ruined Twitter by allowing hate speech and disinformation to flood the platform. Now Musk is using his vast fortune and broad reach to try to control our democracy. Um, wow, right? I mean, basically, essentially what you're saying is Elon Musk should not be giving Donald Trump a platform, right? Because Trump is evil. It's still taking place. They're still attempting to censor Donald Trump, and the media is still complicit. I mean, did we memory hole? Did we shadow the? I mean, did we stuff the frickin' assassination attempt in July? Is that gone now? I mean, it's July 13th, right? Is it gone now? I mean, we have heard nothing about it out of this media, and all it is now is Kamala's awesome, Elon is terrible, and Trump is orange man bad again. I mean,
Hmm.
it's unbelievable to me that we're even having this conversation. Like, how in the
Yeah.
hell are we doing this again?
Well, because they have to. Operation Shield, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's it.
they have to cover for Kamala because she's not doing any press. She can't.
No,
She
no.
can't. She falls apart in a not that that's going to be an unknown question, right? Like they're going to give the people the questions just like they've always done. Like Donna Brazil was caught doing way back when,
Oh yeah, yep.
right?
To
Like
Hillary. Yeah,
feeding debate questions. So uh, they've got no other option. They have to go this route because they can't. She can't get out there. She hasn't yet. It's been what, 3 weeks
yeah.
that she's been out. She has not. She
No,
did
I
like
mean the
what,
like
5 questions and
90
one.
seconds in front of a plane, right? I mean that's all she's done. But I mean everyone who's watched her speak, I mean this is like we've seen the video of the little kid, like the 5-year-old who's your speechwriter. You've seen that video.
Yes,
I,
yeah.
I mean,
Kamala Harris, the speechwriter.
yeah, and that I mean that's honestly how she talks. Space is vast and space is space. And space is beautiful because it's in space, and the vastness of space is in space. And like that's the type of crap I mean, that right there, that
Hmm.
literally could be a Kamala, you know, segment that she's done. She's terrible. You can't put her in front of anybody. She's a box of rocks. We've said it over and over again. She's gotten where she is because she has a unique set of skills, and it has nothing to do with her brain. Was that too
Yeah.
much?
Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like it because I hate the name calling. I listen, there's so much we can go after her for. I don't like that part of it. I don't like it from either side. But um yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm beyond giving a damn. I'm beyond giving a fuck.
No,
I
I know
think
you're not.
I, I
I
think
mean,
for me, like we have to get to a point now where they've done so much and their name calling is dangerous name calling, right? They've called Trump a Nazi, they've called him a fascist, they've called him a racist, they've called him a homophobe, and a Islamophobe, a transphobe. I mean, they've called him all these names to paint him out as evil, so evil enough that some 20-year-old kid gets on a rooftop 147 yards away and takes a shot at him trying to play hero of the day, right? Their name calling is dangerous. Our name calling is calling him stupid. Our name calling, Trump's name calling is mean spirited, but it's not getting anybody killed, right? And that's the difference here. There's a big difference. So when I look at what's going on, and trust me, this is the most disgusting part of all of this, in my opinion, is that Trump got censored for being mean. They never got censored for lying. They never get censored for calling. You have MSNBC out there saying he's like a Nazi. You have tweets out there saying he's a Nazi. You've got all this stuff. It never got censored during the Jack Dorsey days of Twitter. It never got censored when you had, James Baker, the FBI agent who helped perpetuate the Russia collusion stuff, who knew that the Hunter Biden laptop was fake. They never censored any hate towards Trump on Twitter. It had several of the Twitter execs that aren't there anymore that got fired right off the bat. They never censored that when it was the 2020 election. It was Orange Man bad. It was he's an insurrectionist. And it's even still to this day, they're still doing the same things. So yes, you got okay, calling Kamala Harris a box of rocks. Okay, that's a simple statement to put out there.
no,
She is a
no,
box of rocks.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm
Okay,
talking about basically calling her a whore all the time.
eh, you're
I
right.
just I don't
Is is
I
it
don't
below
get
the
in
belt?
that. Yeah, for sure it is, and we don't need to do that. Like we just don't. Like I don't blame anyone for doing it. Like whatever. It just rubs me the wrong way, and it's gonna rub other people the wrong way. And I just there's so much to go after about. We don't need it.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, I get what you're saying. I 100% get it, but at the same time, uh, let's not forget what she said about Trump and Stormy Daniels. Let's not forget all the stuff that she's tried to play up. So I mean, you can't. I mean, if you're
Yeah,
gonna,
I just hate that tick for tack. That's all. That's me. That's my
oh,
personal thing.
I completely understand that. Well, yeah, I mean, I get the tit for tat, and unfortunately, and honestly, that's what it is now. But it's never gonna go. We are not going back, and I'm done playing. I'm done playing cutesy. I'm not like I'm done with this. I'll tell you what. I will stop calling her names when they stop
Hmm.
calling Trump a fascist and a Nazi and saying all this stuff. And to
Hmm.
me, saying, something about Kamala in that regard, that's true. that she that's the truth of what her past has been. Um,
Hmm.
well documented over in my opinion, calling somebody something where you're trying to motivate a group of people to hate them. Uh yeah,
I think it
I don't care.
I as far as like you and I go, it's not gonna
Mhm.
matter. But as far as like the campaign and stuff, like
Oh yeah, for sure. You and I are. I'm doing it in jest.
they're yeah,
I'm doing it
that's
in jest. Trump
yeah.
cannot.
Well,
Trump.
no, you're not. Like that's come on.
Come on, what?
You're not doing it in jest. That's how you feel.
Sure, but it's more of a joke than anything. But at the same
Well,
time, you can't do it in a campaign. Like, I mean, so we've gotten so far, like, so ridiculous with these. Like, it hits you in the feels and the emotional stuff. And I get it. There's a lot of stuff like that going on. But A comedian can come out and torch Kamala Harris and call her a whore for 2 hours in a set, and that's acceptable. But if I say she's a whore because there's stuff in her past in the campaign, that's not acceptable. What's the difference? Like the difference is we're talking about politics and we're saying I'm saying it's ridiculous how this whole thing has gone. But the way you look at things and the way it's perceived from one person to another, it's ridiculous these days. It's gotten to the point where um everybody wants to play nice until they don't want to play nice. I'm done playing nice. I'm done getting to the point now with all of this where things have gotten so dangerous and so crazy that I could care less right now what's being said about anybody on that side of the aisle. That's the point I'm reaching right now. Like, do I want violence carried out against anybody? No, not against right, not against left, not against any of them. But at the same time, I'm sick of this double standard that exists. Why is it that they can say stuff and it's okay, but we can't? Why is it they can point out stuff against anybody? I mean, they're saying stuff left and right in their platforms. They're saying it on MSNBC and CNN all the time. When the Stormy Daniels thing was going down, that's all they talked about with Trump, right? They can do it and they get away with it and it's fine,
Sure,
right?
sure.
We say something and it's like, oh, that's below the belt. You know why it's below the belt? Because everybody's like, oh, we're above that. We're above that. We shouldn't do that. I agree with you. The Trump campaign can't do it because it's just a bad look. Me sitting here in my basement talking to you about Kamala Harris, who's dumb as a box of rocks, then who's gotten where she is from the affair given that she had with Willie Brown. Yeah, I think it's fair game.
No, I didn't say it wasn't fair game. I just don't like it. Like, I just, that's my personal take on it. That's all.
Appreciate about you. I appreciate that about you. That's why we're gonna be different for sure.
Of
Did my
course.
did my mic just drop again?
No, you're good.
Oh, we're gonna be different for.
Now it did.
Is it still echoey?
No.
I'm just gonna hold my arms up in the air like I have them right now, and I'm not gonna move, and I'll barely breathe. You're on your own. Just keep talking.
Okay. Well, this is gonna suck and be really fast.
Uh,
No, my
but
my
that's
whole thing is my whole thing with it is like when they because the campaign has come out and said it, and
the campaign has said
uh,
that about Kamala.
oh yeah, yeah, about the affair and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But they have to start. They have to go after her policies and get. Listen, his policies. 68% of people agree with most of them. Like that was the average, and you just need to start driving that home. Like, you're gonna lose this thing if you just make it personal attacks because people don't want it. Like, and that's crazy to say because of what she'll do, but that's the way people are fucking dumb.
Yeah, well, I think it's also like we talked about selective editing, and the media is so good at running cover that they're just going to make you look bad if you are coming out and the
Right, but
personal attacks continue. But
he's had 8 years to figure this shit out. Like, figure it out. You know how you can get around it. He knows, but he needs a stump speech and not freewheel it. He can freewheel some of it, but the majority of it has to be a stump speech talking about policies. Like, I don't care if you make a different one every time. I don't care about that. It has to be focused on policies.
it makes you wonder. It makes me wonder because who is he listening to that
Nobody, I don't think.
it's got to be. I mean, you'd have to have it's everybody. I don't know. I have no idea, but I do
Well,
know that
they're talking about bringing Kellyanne back in because she's the only one that he'd listen to.
I bet you they don't after what was just dropped today about Kellyanne.
What about it?
Kellyanne was dropping information to news outlets, and I think it was the Daily Mail had a news article saying that Trump was angry about having JD Vance as a pick, and that was not true. That was a Kellyanne selected drop.
Was it, or are they framing her because she's the one that got him elected last time?
No, this was a definite like Kellyanne's not, so Kellyanne and her she's connected to the people that want more money spent in certain areas, right? To kind of self enrich themselves. She's
Mm-hmm.
been a pro Trumper the whole time, but really was instrumental in certain policies overseas that were financial. So the shot across the bow today was sent out about, hey, Kellyanne, back up, stop playing this game. We know why you're doing it. That your plan was to get somebody else who was more war hawkish in there with Trump as a VP pick, so you guys could keep the grift going and doing whatever. And that was sent across the bow today. That was on the Bongino show, today's episode that they put out. Um, Keep in mind, Bongino's on the inside with Trump. Bongino's on the inside with a lot of these folks, and they were talking about it today. Uh, I don't know how anybody in the Trump orbit could be upset with how JD Vance is doing in front of cameras, dismantling media narratives
He's so
and
good in interviews.
and
He's
talking
so
through.
good. Yeah.
He turns it around in seconds, and he does it calmly, and he can fight his way through anything. He's kind of the guy that uh, is the balance for Trump when Trump's starting to go off on his you know his attack, if you will. He's an
Yeah.
Apache helicopter coming in and leveling up.
hmm
But JD
I
Vance
don't
is the quiet, soft spoken, mild mannered guy.
We'll bring
Um,
back all the catchphrases here. We're going off the rails from censorship, but I want to talk about this a little bit. I I'm not sure, he rubs me the wrong way, and I don't know why.
JD
And I
Vance.
yeah, and I think maybe it's just because he's kind of a little like socially awkward. I was talking to somebody at work about this, and the more I look him up and the more I see about him and read about his background, I think it's the awkwardness is from how hard his life was as a kid. He just has this weird kind of vibe about him, and I think that's it. And it's totally unfair to him. Like, he was dealt a really tough hand.
Um, so one of the things that I was seeing online, one of the more prominent things that I saw talked about JD that kind of for me summed up some of it.
hmm
He's very awkward.
hmm
And JD himself has said, oh, when he was a kid, he was a huge dork, right? That's what JD described himself, a self-proclaimed dork.
Okay.
And you can kind of see some of that come through, but you're right, the trials and stuff that he had gone through and with that awkwardness that he has kind of, I don't know, it does feel like at times when he's talking, you're just kind of like, there's something weird, you know?
Yeah, there's just well, that's why the weird thing is sticking, because people see it, right?
Oh,
Like the weird take that everybody started with the liberals, like he's weird. Well, first off, I thought you accepted everybody. And secondly,
no, they only accept you if you
right.
are, if you're trans or if you're whatever. I mean, that's the thing I'm trying to get at here. When I'm like,
hmm
when people are getting mad, like you can't say anything about Kamala's past. You can't do
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah.
The attacks aren't working. The attacks might not work if they're super indirect, if they're super direct, right? Like you can't
hmm
say something like what I did if you're in a campaign, right? Like I didn't say come out and say Kamala was a whore. I came out and said we all know where she
Well,
got because of her past, right?
I mean, in
Yeah,
other
sure.
ones, you've literally said she's a box of rocks that
A,
somebody,
a potato.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I I can say that here. You can't get away
Of
with
course,
that on a campaign trail,
of
right?
course you can. Yeah, of course you can.
And
Say
so,
whatever you want here.
of course, yeah, I will. I've
I
earned that
mean,
right.
almost
Yeah, that's
everything.
yeah. There
We
is a
still have we still have jobs we got to
yeah,
keep.
yeah. Let's not talk about that. Yeah, that can't be said in a campaign trail. But at the attack ads, though, I mean, you have to put out there in a respectful, at least semi-respectful way, what her past is. You know what I mean?
hmm hmm
Just like they're going to do and they have been doing to Trump, you have to do the same thing. I mean, they're going to play and they have been playing the Trump Stormy Daniels thing. They're playing Trump and other things, and they're playing things that are selectively edited to manipulate their side and independents that are watching it to vote. But you still have independents that are, you know, going to need to hear about Kamala and her past. You have to.
hmm
You can't go out there and go full Dave Chappelle on it, but you have to do something. I mean, you have to put that out there. That's going to sway votes. It has
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the cutesy time is over. You can't like at this point the gloves have to come off. I mean, we're to the point now where like Trump and Elon were talking about $1 trillion every 100 days is being spent. We can't sustain that. Kamala's plan to $96 billion for clean energy. She's going to take our benefits away, union benefits away, and make universal health care, and everyone's going to get it on the universal plan. That those ideas alone are going to cost this. We won't have a country anymore. You can't do it. So me saying she's a box of rocks, that a former potato, whatever. Yeah, I don't care at this point. There's too much on the line, and I'm going to say what I want to say. That's the first part. And the second part is I've bled for the option to say what I want to say. That's just how I am. I'm going to say it. I don't care what Kamala thinks. That's the whole point of free speech. Say what you have to say, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. There's going to be people that judge me on the way what I feel or what I say, and that's fine. I'm man enough to own that. I don't care. But I have earned the right to say whatever the fuck I want to say, and I am going to say whatever the fuck I want to say. I have earned that right. Um, and I would go and do the same thing again and bleed again for anybody else to have that right as well. So that's just where I am with it.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not saying you shouldn't say it or that. I just don't like it.
Oh, that's
You know
so
what I mean?
sweet. That's so cute, though.
I don't like any of that though. Like I don't like when Trump does it. I don't like when anyone does it.
You
Just talk
shock me
about.
sometimes because you can be so brash, like in personal life, not on here. You can be so
Mhm.
brash with people and like so up in your face and saying stuff and so whatever. And then at times you shock me because you're like, yeah, I just don't like that. And I'm like, it's a whole new side of you sometimes that I keep finding out. Like, I love that about you in certain ways. Like, you
Uh-huh.
have more of a, I don't know.
It's very direct.
You
It's
come across,
directed.
you come across as like a direct tough guy, but you have a very soft side.
Do you? This is gonna be published. Leave that out of this.
You do. Like, people don't see it often, but you do, bro. We've talked about it a lot. I've many
For
a
sure.
conversation where I've
Hmm.
been like, you shock me with some of the personal conversations we have. Like that right there. It's just, yeah, I agree with you. You're making me feel like I'm the asshole.
No, you're not at all. Like for me, it's just one of those things. Like
Well, you from the beginning have been like, it's not needed. And I think you're absolutely right, where it's more
she's so
detrimental.
bad on
Yeah,
everything. Like
it's
we don't need
detrimental.
that.
Who was it? Do you know on Fox News on the Gutfield show, they have that guy who's a wrestler, like a
Uh,
WWE wrestler.
yes. Now I can't think of his name. Tyrus.
Tyrus, yes. So
Yeah.
Tyrus, I just saw an episode on there, and Tyrus Trump had come out and said something, and I can't remember what it was. And Tyrus is like, "Just shut up." And
Yes.
and I think a lot of people, and even like we were talking the other day, where I was like, I just wish he would shut the hell up from time to time. And I stand by. I'm like, I support Trump. Like, go ahead and go on the attack, do what you got to do. But I'm falling more in line with the whole, bro. We'll win this thing if you just sit there and tell him. Just show clips of her being stupid. Just show clips of her policy. Just shut up.
Right. Let her fucking do it. Like just
She's
shut up and
yeah.
show the clip. You've got the videos and you've
Same
got the
thing.
screen at all your rallies.
And they
Just
have it with
show it.
walls. They have it with walls too. I mean, you could do the same
Yeah.
thing with both of them. Just,
Of course.
but
There's
yeah,
so much there to go after. And if you just start telling everybody why your policies are better, you're gonna fucking destroy her. But if you just make this personal, people aren't gonna go do their own research. They don't. People are lazy.
they'll
They're
just
gonna
shut
go
off.
with yes, they just shut down.
Yeah, I hope that's why this X thing reached a lot of people, and we're like, oh, okay, well, and we got to stop. Like, this is the other thing too. You just nailed it on the head. People are lazy, and we got to stop voting with our feelings and voting with, our sense of, like, I don't know. People are voting from a feeling base, and you can be controlled if you're voting for just on that. If you're not looking at policies and you're not looking at records and you're not looking at what things were. I mean, there's a tweet on here again. Somebody put out, bring back here, I'll read it right now. Bring me back mean tweets and $1.79 gas. That's all I'm asking for. And obviously the whole point of what people are saying right now is like, okay, well, I will take an asshole in the Oval Office who's a tough guy, who's arrogant, if you just bring back the American dream again, right? Get the
Yeah.
country back online. But we're not going to be able to do that. And part of the reason why we're not going to be able to do that is, again, there's and from the beginning, there has been a selective process about who they're going to go after and double down on. And I'm going to defend Trump a little bit here again, although I'm going to, before I do this, like you said, and I agree with it. Uh, he can't be attack mode all the time. He's got to just let Kamala end her own political career because she was more than, halfway down the road of doing so, right? But again, you walk back the history of what has taken place with Trump, and you can see why he is so coming out guns blazing, right? We
Hmm.
have never had another political figure in history, in the history of politics, not one, who the entire media apparatus outside of Fox News and a few conservative outlets has gone after him, who's been given the green light to lie, who knows, they know the truth. They knew that the Hunter Biden laptop was real. They knew that from the beginning. Of course they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, of
They
course.
they censored that. They knew Trump wasn't in league with Russia. They censored, they lied and they did what they did. They know Trump's not a fascist. They know he's not a Nazi. They know he's not gonna fricking uh, kill democracy. They know all that. If he was gonna do that, he would have done it the first time around, right? They know that.
Hmm.
They know that January 6th was not a freaking insurrection. They know that. They absolutely know that. There's videos of people walking in the Capitol with Capitol Police. They know that. They know that it wasn't what that's being made out to be. There's all these things that have gone on, and they've gone after Trump repeatedly, over and over and over and over.
Hmm.
And we see it and we talk about it, but it's just accepted. It's just accepted that yeah, that's whatever. That's just the left. That's what they do. That's 10 times worse, 100 times worse than Trump coming out and saying any kind of indirect attack about Rosie O'Donnell or whatever the quote was that he said about somebody looking like a cow or whatever it was. He's like, oh, I only said that about Rosie. And he got some
Hmm.
laughs or whatever. Yes,
Yeah.
he's an asshole. Trust, he's an asshole. He's a New Yorker. He's a businessman. He's cutthroat. He's an asshole. But these people are like, oh, Trump's using a term on Wall Street called bloodbath. And Trump's going to murder everybody. Oh, look at what he's doing. I mean, they have themselves taken it upon themselves to put him in danger by continually perpetuating lies, right? Spreading falsehoods that aren't even real. It's not even, he's not a fascist. He's not a he's not a dictator, but those were all things they were saying. And it all the way from the FBI. When you have your federal agencies um doing these things to you and you're a citizen in the United States only because you want to be a political candidate and I mean think about this for a second. This hasn't been done to anybody like they're doing. What was his platform that he was running on? He's going to drain the swamp. That's why the whole apparatus has been levied against him. That's why the Secret Service didn't care about his details. That's why he wasn't getting the stuff that the security he needed, for his events. That's why all this crap has happened. That's why the media hates him. That's why everybody hates him because the deep state is completely in charge and controlling it. We all know that. We all see it, right? And we've talked about it repeatedly. So, in Trump's defense, what's worse? A couple mean tweets, calling somebody ugly, being a dick to somebody, is that worse? Or is it worse that people are actually out there trying to paint you into a corner as being somebody in history that if somebody else could go back and take out in history and save millions of lives, they would gladly do it, right?
Hmm.
So you got to put this whole thing in context. And is it fair that Trump is an attack dog? No, but that's who he is. Um, is it fair that the censorship and the BS is taking place again in the media with the FBI, with the cybersecurity apparatus of our own government, with the United Kingdom, with in conjunction of name it. They're already going back to Facebook. CISA's going back to Facebook and saying, "Hey, you got to start censoring this stuff. You got to do this. You got to do that." I mean, it's happening again. All this crap, and the whole time it's been this way. So, I mean, I agree with you. The campaign doesn't need the BS with Kamala and Tim Walz. They're so bad. They're such bad candidates that you just have to let them fail on their own. Um, but at the same point, I can understand why this man is out there saying "f you" to everybody, and I'm just going to say whatever I want. Is
Hmm.
it helpful for him in the campaign? Probably not. I mean, to his base that's not going anywhere, it doesn't matter. They're not going to go anywhere. But to pick up independents and people on the left, yeah, it's going to matter.
Yeah. I yeah, I don't want to go too much farther than this because we gotta get back to the censorship, but I agree. Like I just, like I've said, I just want this to be about her policies, which she still doesn't have on her website. She still hasn't done any interviews. She's done like 3 questions, and 2 of them were about Donald Trump and debating. Like, it's just, I mean, just hammer that point home.
Yeah, I don't. I they're gonna put her in the basement just like they did Biden. I mean, they can't let her do it. She'll.
Well, they don't need to right now. Like, as long as the numbers that are coming out, they don't need to.
Yeah, like
They let
I don't believe in polls. I mean, you know
No,
that.
I know you don't.
Uh,
However,
these things
until
are
she's gonna get
this.
another bump at the DNC, like it's
Sure,
gonna
but
be another week, but
this is the typical thing we always see, right? Like, oh, Trump is up, Trump is up, Trump is up because they're doing the whole you don't need to come and vote for Trump. He's going to win by a landslide. Red wave, red wave. Remember all that red wave talk,
Mhm.
right? I mean, the media put out all the time, oh, there's going to be a red wave, there's going to be a red wave. There was no red wave coming. That was a voter suppression thing by the media. They do it constantly. These polls, you can manipulate a poll. Okay, I'll manipulate a poll. I'm going to ask about Trump and see if people like Trump. I'm going to focus on 1,000 people. Guess where all those 1,000 people are going to be called from? Oh, somewhere in California. I'll get about 85% that don't like Trump, right? Okay, well now I want to find 1,000 people that support Trump. Well, I'm gonna call Florida or I'm gonna call Texas. I'll call Dallas, Texas. That's where all my 1,000 calls. That's why these polls are such bullshit. You don't. There's very few pollsters out there who actually take the time to not be bullshit and put out accurate phone calls. And then the other side, you've said in the
Well,
past too, is
they
people
work
that
for
just won't
people.
admit it. Yeah, right. It's what it is, right? It's the same thing we see in the media all the time. It's clickbait, and that's also a censorship thing, and
Hmm.
that's kind of the problem we're coming across with this election. Starting in June of this year, the FBI again with the cybersecurity CISA, the cybersecurity uh, intelligence agency apparatus, if you will, has again gone around and they started telling people what disinformation is and what needs to be taken off. Now, in the 2020 election, guess what all the disinformation was that was taken off Twitter and everything else? Anything positive about Trump, anything that Trump was saying. Trump got ripped down, after J6, got his whole platform, he was deplatformed, right? They took the sitting president of the United States off the platform in an effort to censor everything. Anything COVID related that was coming out that we now know is true was taken off Twitter, off Facebook, off all these places. Why?
Hmm.
Because the censorship brigade was out there. So now we have this again taking place right now, and it's taking place with it was June that they came out. CISA came out, and I'm trying to find the article right now. Uh, it's an article put out by Sean Fleetwood, um, from the Federalist, and it talks about the FBI resumed collusive efforts with the social media companies to censor posts that claims are disinformation. The Federalist has learned. CISA, the Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency, they did this in the last go around with Trump. They went out and they met with Facebook. They met with um, Twitter. They met with all sorts of other places that had social media. And remember, they went to them and said, this is what the Hunter Biden laptop, it's a Russian disinformation campaign. COVID stuff, it's not real. We have to be careful about disinformation. And those people all took it down. You had Mark Zuckerberg go on Joe Rogan and admit that the FBI came to him and said, hey, the Hunter Biden laptop isn't real, right? You had was it 52 or 62, whatever, Intel agency officials come out and say that the laptop's not real, that all these things aren't real, right? Um, that censorship again is being wound up and it's starting to come through again for the second time. Did you just see who was on CNN talking about the UK riots?
No.
Talking about it was a Russian operation? Christopher
Who?
fucking Steele.
What?
Christopher Steele, the freaking the dossier, the Trump dossier was just brought on and was talked about things being disinformation again, or it was a Russian campaign or disinformation campaign being launched against the United Kingdom. I mean, how many times are we going to let the same shit happen? The same people talk that we know are completely full of shit. And for those who don't know, Christopher Steele was the guy who was hired by Glenn Simpson from Fusion GPS, who was hired by Hillary Clinton to create the Trump dossier that was nothing but unverified lies. He's again in the media. Now the United Kingdom unrest, so, according to Christopher Steele, is Russia again. This is their play. This is what they do. And the media censors it, right? You're getting the same thing over and over again. I think this is what's pissing me off the most. We have the FBI again, like I said, as of July 26th, going around again pre-election, talking to social media sites saying, hey, we need to come to you and talk to you about disinformation that's out there. Well, what is it this time? What
Mhm.
is the disinformation this time? The last time you told us it was disinformation, it was that COVID vaccines worked 100% of the time when we said they didn't. Uh, it was that you couldn't transmit COVID if you've been vaccinated, which you could. That ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine didn't work. They would kill you, which they don't, and they did work. I mean, what is the disinformation? The Hunter Biden laptop was fake. It was a Russian operation, and Donald Trump should be ashamed of himself for even talking about that, right? Oh, but it's real. It's real. Or Trump is a racist because of what he said at a freaking in a press conference about people being good people on both sides, which of course that was not real. You forgot the last 35 seconds of what he said, where he said, I'm not talking about white supremacists or white nationalists. They should be condemned completely. So the same thing is happening again. The same things are starting to ramp up again, and you're seeing it. They're running cover yet again. For what? What are they running cover for? Kamala Harris? Do you think she can save our country? Kamala Harris isn't going to run anything. She's on the campaign trail right now, all over the United States, stopping after event after event after event, right? We have a guy in the White House that they decided unilaterally on the Democrat side he couldn't be in this campaign because of his cognitive ability. It's so far gone that he shouldn't even be a president for the next 4 years because he could lose, right? But who's running the country right now? Who the hell is running this country?
Mhm. It's Jill.
It's Jill. It's an aide. It's a what? Who's we don't know, and that's the problem. Every one of these people knew that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline. Every one of them knew who he was, what he
Mhm.
could do, and what he couldn't do. They did nothing about it then. Nothing. They knew how Nancy Pelosi, guilty. Kamala Harris, guilty. These policies and things that are being drafted by Biden, they knew. They knew that he was so freaking far gone that he shouldn't even be doing anything. He should be on a couch on it, like you said before, watching the waves, right? He should not be running the country.
Mhm.
Well, who's running the country now? Are we hearing anything about it? Of course, you're not hearing anything about it. You're hearing nothing from Biden. The media is not saying a word. He's fine to slip away. 3 weeks ago, they were torching him and laying him bare, right? Why? Because there was the danger of him losing. Now you don't hear a peep, not a word. It's the censorship thing that they do. It's not even just censorship. They censor conservative sides. They censor free speech platforms like X. Anybody who wants to talk on X, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to because, oh, Elon's propagating all this misinformation or disinformation, which let's be honest, I've seen a lot of X posts that people are sending me where they're like, is this real? And I'm like, no, man, come on. No, that's not real. There are some things that are on there that are not going to be real, but they're in jest, a lot of them. And some of them are the people taking advantage of stupid people. That's just what it is.
Mhm.
Um, the simple thing to do is just go look for yourself. If you see something that seems like it's too far crazy, go look for yourself. Uh, I can't believe how many things I see in a day that I have to look at and be like, that can't be real.
Mhm.
That we've talked about this just starting the podcast. We have to go and look at something and be like, there is absolutely no chance. I mean, how many things have I sent you being like, bro, look at this. This cannot be real. And you're like, yeah, dude, I don't see that being real. And then we would go
Yeah.
look. You send the same stuff to me, like, dude, have you seen this?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it's all the time. Like you have to get stuff from like 4 or 5 different places now before you can just
right,
because everything is it feels like everything's fake.
well, it is, and that's the hallmark before a nation collapses. Who's that guy? The Russian guy that Joe Rogan had on. He didn't have him on. He played his video from like the 70s that the Soviets were going to use against the United States
Mhm.
to demoralize us and have us fall
Mhm.
out of what we were, right?
I
A
don't I
free
don't know his
society.
name.
But he said before you collapse, nobody will know what's real and what's not. And that's kind of where we're getting to. And a lot of that is, again, it's Operation Shield. It's a cover campaign by the media, right? It's their fault. People don't believe the media. Stephen Colbert just had a reporter on for
Mhm.
CNN,
That was amazing.
and he tried to say that, well, everybody knows that CNN's reputable, and as soon as he said reputable and doesn't spread disinformation, the crowd laughed. And he had to admit, she's like, was that supposed to be a laugh joke? And he's like, well, it wasn't, but I guess it was. And he
Yeah.
was like, I feel stupid, right? Like he got caught in the moment. Nobody
Hmm.
believes the media. Like his own liberal crowd showing up at his show even laughed at the notion that CNN is real news, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like MSNBC, CNN, all of them are the tabloids now for the type of shit they put out. They're doing the whole what we just talked about, the good people on both sides. They're using that again. It's been
Hmm.
debunked over and over again, and they're doing it again.
Hmm.
So the bigger part of censorship to me is the not reporting the truth. They're doing it to their own audience, and then at the same time, they're coming around and saying, "Oh, well, anything that you're hearing about Trump that's positive is disinformation." I just, how do you even combat that? You can't, right?
Hmm.
You can't. The censorship thing, using government assets, using the FBI to go to social media sites and censor them, like that's complete horse crap.
Yeah.
How are you using a government entity to go and tell people what they can and can't put on their social media sites based off of your opinion if it's real or not? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
The last time you did that, it turned out that almost all the shit that you said was fake was real. And almost all the shit you said was real was fake. I just how I we the trust is not there anymore. I don't trust the FBI. I don't trust the CIA. I don't trust the government anymore. You can't, they're not telling us the truth. It's like Sean Ryan said on his show, it's broken. The apparatus is broken. And the one entity we had that was supposed to tell us the truth, which was the media, doesn't tell us the fucking truth anymore. They do what they want for clicks. They do what they want so they can make more money. And they're constitutionally protected. Well, right now they're constitutionally protected liars. They're full of shit. I would say on an average day, 95% of what I see on CNN or MSNBC is hyperbole. It's bullshit.
Hmm. Yeah,
And I'm not,
I don't even watch CNN anymore because of it. Like I try to even stay clear of their articles. Like if there's anything in an article from CNN or MSNBC, and honestly, some of them with for Fox.
you have to with Fox. They're the other side of the coin.
Yeah, it's so Fox is I think is still pretty decent if you can find one that's not like written by one of their opinion people, but for the most part, all their stuff is written by opinion people now. So like it looks like it's an article, but it's not. It's just an opinion piece.
That's all it is.
Hmm.
It's an opinion piece based off that. It's the same thing with all their panels, right? You put a pretty face on stage. She's got a list of questions that she's going to ask 4 or 5 experts. And if you're on Fox, 4 of you are hardcore conservatives and one of you is a liberal, and your goal is to make the liberal look stupid, right? If
Hmm.
you're on CNN, 4 or 5 of you are hardcore liberals, and there's one conservative on the panel, and your goal is to make the conservative look stupid. What the hell does that even do? You're not telling us the truth. You're not what's you can't have an even 50-50 split of people. Of course you can't, because they wouldn't be able to gang up and beat on somebody and
Right.
make
Right.
5 people look like they're right over one, right? That's just how this works. But what happened to the days of where you would just get the facts and then it would move on to the next story, and you just get the facts and you'd move on to the next story, and there was no pretty face there trying to be so angry. You know what I mean? Oh,
Hmm.
I'm mad because I'm a conservative and this is what you should believe. I'm mad because I'm a liberal and this is what you should believe. There were no Scarboroughs back in the real journalism days. There were no Mikas.
Hmm.
It was just people telling facts. And honestly, it killed. This has absolutely killed the credibility of the media. Almost now, even down to the local level.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. It should never have come. We should never be here. The
Right.
one constitutionally protected entity that has the ability to keep as a unspoken check and balance in our governmental system is now ruined. We can't even believe it. Now you and I, we go look at independent sources. We're looking at other people who are digging on their own and trying to find if their thoughts are real, right?
Right.
Why does every citizen have to be an independent journalist? Why? because the system's broken, right?
Yeah, you can't trust anyone else.
It's broken at every fucking level, and it's disgusting. And man, what's the fix? I don't know what the fix is, but this crap has to stop. It has to stop. There's people that bust their ass day in and day out,
Hmm.
working a 9 to 5 job, and then on top of that, working part-time hours doing other stuff just to make ends meet right now because our government is so irresponsible with everything they fucking do that we are so far in debt that inflation is insane. Elon described inflation perfectly when he said it, right? We'll never bounce a check. We just print more money. And when you print more money and there's not enough goods and services to soak up that money, that's what happens with inflation, right? It goes
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
Add on top of that your war on fuel that they've had, add on top of it all the other stupid things they've done, and you've got a runaway inflationary rate that is it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
And who's fixing it? No one is. They don't even see it themselves because they don't care because it doesn't affect them. And instead of allowing a candidate to come on, and I'm not even talking about Trump right now, right? Other than allowing a candidate to come on and talk, they censored the candidate. They just did it to frickin' RFK.
Oh yeah.
They censor a guy. He's going to come out and he's going to tell the truth. He's going to speak his mind. Put him on a debate stage with Trump and Kamala Harris. Put them on the stage together. Why? Why won't you do that? Why won't you do that?
I saw a clip of him on Hannity the other day,
Mm-hmm.
scrolling through Twitter or X, and he said that he was basically telling Hannity, like, well, you're Fox. Put me on the debate. Put me on the debate stage and I'll win the election. And he's like, on one debate? He's like, yep. Put me on the debate stage. And he's like, well, I don't make the rules. He goes, Fox does, and they keep changing them.
Of course.
Hmm.
Well, and again, we just said it. Fox is the other side of the coin. Fox is just the conservative CNN, right? You see some of the stuff, and I will say Fox has been right about a lot of things. Uh, there's shit that CNN has been right about and
Hmm.
MSNBC has been right about, but it doesn't matter. They're still playing to their audiences. They still have a base they're going for. They're still trying to make money. When you made media a business, when you made media entities
Hmm.
super entities and made it a business and made it so important, uh, that's where it started to seep in. We're not getting the truth. We're not getting everything. I mean, guys like Kennedy don't stand a chance on a third party ticket. You don't stand a chance. These two
No.
parties are too entrenched. The super PACs are all the people that make the rules, and the media is just used to censor one side or the other.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't really care. I don't really care if people's feelings are being hurt. Did you see the CNN interview of I think it was CNN. They had a panel of women up there talking about inflation. And it was a black lady talking about inflation. And she said, I can't afford a $2 bell pepper anymore because it went to a $5 bell pepper. Then I got to choose to feed my kids or feed myself. Because if I feed myself, I can't eat and I still have to go to work to be able to feed my kids. And she said, they're killing us and they don't even know what they're doing. They don't even realize they're killing us because it has no effect on them.
Hmm.
That is 100% right.
Hmm.
Electricity's up 29.3%. Uh, Gas, 47.8% since 2020. Natural gas, 26.9% since 2020. Eggs, 49.3%. Milk, 14.9%. Chicken, 23.9%. Used cars, 20.9%. Uh, Airfare, your airfare tickets, 32.7%. And normal day to day transportation, 32.5% up from 2020.
Hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. Does CNN talk about that? No. What they do is they come out and they say, right after this lady is out there and saying that inflation's killing her, they censor that whole thing's out there. But what they do is they cover down with another immediately. They go to
Hmm.
another person who talks about, oh, this is the greatest the economy's ever been, and this is that. It's all censorship, man. It's all censorship. They don't want the truth out there.
Yeah, for sure. Like they can't have it out there.
It's a broken system, and who was it? It was Raskins, right? Who said that if Trump gets elected, they're going to go with the 14th Amendment and push that civil war, right?
Well, they're gonna try, but like I told you, like they have to get on pretty much all the Democrats on. They're not gonna.
Oof. I don't know, man.
They're not.
I
They're not gonna. Like this is like you said. You said it when I brought it up. It's just fucking talk. It's talk. That's all
yeah,
they do.
I don't yeah, for sure. I don't believe that that's going to happen. What I'm saying I don't know, man, too is I don't know how we can be to the situation where your government now is like, oh yeah, we're going to launch that 14th Amendment and try to remove somebody who's just elected,
Hmm.
right? Um, remember what they did to the January 6th, right? I just saw an article about a J6 rioter who was in the Capitol.
Hmm.
He's been in prison for over 3 years. He hasn't had a trial yet.
I saw that same one. Did you? There was one that just got the highest sentence too, but
Yeah,
I never looked it up.
I didn't look it up either. I did see that. I saw like the thumbnail for it.
And the guy that got 20 months prison in the UK for a Facebook post.
I saw that. Yeah. I mean, that's what's going on now, right? That model over there is the globalist model. The EU has a globalist model right now. Hate speech, there is no free speech. If you recognize speech as being hateful and punishable, uh, you don't have free speech. That is you can't stop people from being hateful. You're just not going to stop it. The best thing you can
Hmm.
do is let them put it out in the open so you know who they are.
It exposes them.
And you can teach your children what to be
Hmm.
like and what not to be like, right? That's how you deal with hate. You see it, you put it out there.
Hmm.
Um, in the UK right now, people being round up because there's police watching Facebook posts or Twitter posts, X posts, and they're showing up at people's houses and taking them to prison and giving them 20 months. Like, what in the hell is going on right now? And then for the UK to threaten to come get American citizens, they're going to come over here. Bro, we fought that war before. It
Yeah.
didn't work out so well for you, but we're ready for a second attempt.
We'll
Like
just we'll just cut off your trade, see how you do.
I the threats are insane. And this can't be I don't know. It's it amazing how in the how the fuck are we here right now with all the stuff that's going on? We're supposed to be the freest country on earth, the
Hmm.
last bastion of freedom on the planet. And even in our own election cycles, um, I mean, you just you can't even believe what's going on there. You can't, anything.
Hmm.
Somebody sent me this today, and I'm like, man, this it's outlandish, but fuck, it could be true. Uh, I'll send it to you now. So this is somebody that sent this. It's an X post, and it's Minnesota District 5, right? Polls closed at 8 o'clock. 8:15 p.m. 0% of the poll was counted. 8:30 0% counted. 8:45 0% counted. 9 o'clock 0% counted. 9:22 5% counted. 9:37 99.5% counted. Totality 100% legitimate election. Ilhan Omar wins. How do you count all of your people? I mean, what did two people vote? Is if that's real? I mean, I'm not saying this is real because it might not be, but at the same time, like this sounds par for the course right now.
So part of the problem is that those aren't necessarily the right times because that's from the Secretary of State's website, right? So they get it and then they upload them. And if they're getting like it was everywhere. So if they're not if they're not staffed right or they're not, they're getting them and they're just entering them in and doing big updates all at one time. That's, you know what I mean? Like
So it makes it look worse.
it makes it look worse because that's not them reporting it. That's the state reporting it, right? So like they report throughout the day, they report stuff.
I'll be honest, I don't know how it reports. I know that
So for
they're
Minnesota, it's paper ballots and
yeah,
then it's scanned in,
you
right?
stuff it into a
Mm-hmm.
machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's reporting that? Like, does
The each
the machine report out on its own?
each precinct does the report outs. So Like for District 5, it's I don't know how many precincts they have, but they each get their own, they each do their own thing. Like that it's all the same machine and everything, but they like depending on how like election, I don't know. I drove by a lot of them. They were not busy. You look
No.
at her number of votes, it was not very many. So like
What did
that
she
does
get?
not shock me. Well, I haven't seen the updated. I'll try to look it up quick.
This is exactly, I mean, it just, you see what I mean? Like, you don't know if it's real or it's not. You don't
What?
know because you've had so much shit that's not real, and there probably is a legitimate explanation for it, but somebody's going to take it and they're going to put it out there. And the reason they're taking it and putting it out there is because it looks suspicious. And even if the media comes out and says, hey, you know what?
Mhm.
There's a legitimate reason to this. You've already tainted your credibility. There's no way that
Well, yeah,
anyone's going to believe
you
you.
don't have any credibility. So there's 217 precincts in that district. Okay.
Yep.
It She got 67,000 votes. Like that's not very many.
I wonder how many people, though, in the district. Who? Yeah.
He got 51,000.
So it's
Like wasn't
relatively close.
14%.
Yeah. I don't know
Listen,
how.
they like these people, the site that you showed that posted that, like they were trying to go after her, but they didn't go after her like they went after all the other ones because this guy was never close to her at all. And so
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't spend the Israeli group, they didn't spend any money on this race. They talked about it, and then it like last week after they got Bush out, they said, "Well, it's an open primary. Republicans just go vote for her challenger." And that was essentially all they did. Like
Well, that's
they
a
had no chance.
so you don't see that as a winning strategy, huh?
No, I do see that as a winning strategy, just not within 1 week.
Well, it's not. I mean, that type of shit's not going to work either. You
Well,
you have to have a message, a platform to speak from, and you have to because I mean
if
that goes
if
back
it's
to the.
close, it could. And last time it was close. It was like 2,000 votes last time. It's not anymore. I mean, it was like 18,000 votes.
I
So
just don't know how anybody can put. I mean,
look at that district, though.
I
It's
know.
mostly Somali.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say mostly Somali. It's a large portion of it Somali.
I find it like insane that they left Somalia, which is a war-torn nation at best, warlords everywhere. Um, I mean, kind of a different warlord depending on what section of the city you're in, right? To come here and do the same crap over and over again with the same kind of, I don't know. It's
Hmm.
at what point do you get away? You know what I mean? At what point do
Yeah.
you're coming here for freedom? Do you want to not have freedom?
Hmm. Well, I mean, that's like with every culture, every group that comes in, right? And they want, it's like the liberals leaving
Yeah,
California and then
California going to
trying to do it.
Texas.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It is the same thing. It blows my mind, man. I'll never understand it. But again, that hits it on the head. Like you don't know what is real and what is not. And even though I didn't believe that that was a real report coming out, like I said, it's so outlandish with all the crap you see that is also outlandish that's real.
Mhm.
That fits in. It could be real. And
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, there's probably a real explanation for 95% of it, but the media can't report it because if they report it, no one's going to believe them.
Right. Correct.
If the government comes out, no one's going to believe him. If Ilhan Omar comes out, no one's going to. You ruined your credibility when you started going after other people as hard as you've gone after other people with the crazy shit that she's done with no consequences. Uh, How do you trust anything at this point? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That is a broken system. We are in a broken system. And the censorship is only I mean, it's a small aspect of it, but it's a very important aspect. I just, man, I don't know.
Yeah, so just real quick on going back to this election thing and the percentages being reported. Like each precinct uploads them. So if there's a problem with the internet or the sites being bogged down, like that, it's very likely they all just came in at one time.
which would make sense.
Right. And then it gets uploaded. And so then it looks like, well, how the hell did that happen? Everybody reported at the same time. Well, yes, but polls were also closed already for 2 hours. So they've been trying to report for 2 hours.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I just know that
I mean,
it's hard to,
I'm not saying you'll never know that, right?
well, we're
But
never going to know.
it's likely it was just a broadband issue or a internet issue.
The simplest, the simplest answer usually is the answer, and that would be the simplest answer, right? That, hey, it's not that there's like this crazy nefarious purpose going on behind this.
Mm.
It probably is just that they couldn't get the machine to work. That to
Yeah.
me sounds more likely than,
And if you look at like all the other districts, I bet they all have a similar track. Like all of a sudden they were just there.
yeah. Well, now that gives me a question about that 3 o'clock in the morning dump of information that, everybody went to bed and Trump was well on his way to winning, and then 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So my next question is,
But
do polls,
they were counting them though. Like this is just uploading the guys believe the machines count them here and they just upload them.
you see, I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I don't know that I don't have that information. What I was going to ask was, when the polls close, they don't just sit and count throughout the entire night, right? Because you're supposed to have ballot watchers there, or poll watchers there, so no shady shit can happen. And they kicked the poll watchers out, and then the reports came in then at 3 o'clock
Correct.
in the morning.
Correct.
So it's not the same thing.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I hate a situation like this because now it makes me question the other stuff. Like, oh, was that legitimate? Was this legitimate? Was that legitimate?
Well, I think the biggest difference is that it's I don't believe they have the same system as Minnesota. So it's apples and oranges, right?
What do you guys? What do you have? Dominion?
I don't have it. I don't
Is it
think so because isn't
smart
Dominion all Dominion?
Smartmatic?
I'm not sure what it is. I can try to look it up.
Is your system, you just fill out your ballot, then put your ballot in the thing, and it just sucks it in and spits out yep, you voted.
Yeah. It just scans it like a Scantron.
Yeah. So that's
You fill in the circle.
yep, that's Dominion. I don't know, man. I just know that this is all
So
broken.
it's three different groups. It's Dominion, ES and S Digital, and Heart Verity Central. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know what those other two are.
Mm-mm.
I don't even know what that. Yeah, what do they do? Is one like the link between, and one is the system that takes the vote, and then who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
All I know is that there's a lot of claims of election fraud, and that we do know that Dominion takes and switches votes. We've seen that. There's proof in that, and that's uncontested. You can't really contest that. Can't say that it happened in the 2020 election. We can say that it happened in a local election. I want to switch gears for a second because we've been talking about how broken the system is. Um, do you feel like the system has been weaponized?
What system?
Like all of it. Like I kind of feel like obviously the media has been weaponized, right, to go after your opponents. There's no doubt there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you put credence into the whole like the FBI was weaponized to go after Trump and people who are in the Trump orbit?
Yes and no. I don't. It's very clear that people in the FBI went after Trump. Now, is the whole thing weaponized? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I don't believe that the
I don't
people at the
think.
bottom are
Yeah, I think it's the people at the top steering stuff, right?
the
But those are
political
your
appointees,
political appointees.
right?
But you don't think that's been going on forever? I mean, not to this scale, but a
Yeah.
little bit.
I mean,
I mean, we
I get
know it happened with the IRS. We know it's happened with other things too.
okay, so let me ask you this. Has there been anybody else that you can think of that's had this kind of weight levied against them?
No.
Do you feel like maybe Tulsi is starting to get that same kind of attention?
She 100% is. She's got five air marshals that fly with her because they labeled her a domestic terrorist. Ridiculous.
That's that's what I'm trying to get at here is the system is broken, man. Like if you're a threat to the establishment, if you're a threat to the deep state, if you're a threat to the nice little power structure they have going on, the full weight is going to be used against you. And right now, they're doing the same thing to Tulsi that they were doing to Trump. What has Tulsi done? She's not like Trump. She's not a braggart. She's not arrogant. She's not mean. She's probably the sweetest person that there is in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's been in the house. She serves her country. She's a battalion commander right now.
Yeah.
I mean, how in the fuck can the system be manipulated and weaponized at a government level to call her a domestic terrorist?
Well, how can she keep her battalion commanding
Being a domestic
rank
terrorist?
being a domestic terrorist?
That's what I'm saying, bro. The system is broken. Has the media reported on it outside of a couple conservative outlets? Where's the stories?
Yeah,
Where's the
I haven't seen anything on mainstream.
You're not going to see anything. That's the point.
Who was she talking to when she was talking about it?
That was somebody on a podcast or on their YouTube channel. I think was
I
it
don't
Tucker?
I don't remember who it was. I don't know that it was Tucker. I'll find
I,
out. I'll find out.
I don't know who it was either, but it wasn't like it was a mainstream media channel that's covering it. This is a citizen, a U.S. citizen. Yes, it's Tulsi. Yes, she's well known, but you put her on the global, on the domestic terrorist watch list. This is what's wrong, and the people who are pulling the strings at the very top are billionaire business people, billionaire owners of businesses. These people are putting the money up front, buying politicians, and politicians are doing everything they can to run cover for the business people while the media runs cover for the politicians, and the business people own the media. It's the same sick cycle. And now you're seeing it again on a minor scale of what's been done to Trump. You're seeing it done to somebody like Tulsi. For what? Telling the truth? For attacking Kamala in a primary and pointing out the truth about Kamala in a primary?
Yeah. She said it. It's Harris that's doing it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the system we have right now. It's busted, bro.
So it says on October 4th, the online media organization Uncover DC reported that multiple federal air marshal whistleblowers have come forward to claim that Gabbard, a former Democrat who regularly appears as a political commentator on Fox News and other conservative media outlets, has been enrolled in TSA's Quiet Skies program. Gabbard was reportedly added to the list on July 23rd, a day after she criticized Harris for not having the strength to stand up to the military-industrial complex during an appearance on Laura Ingraham's show. Gabbard said that she and her husband have been subject to prolonged security checks and that have been surveilled and followed by TSA officers, federal air marshals, and explosive detecting canines when they travel. On Monday, four Republican members of the state House of Representatives, in which Gabbard served from 2002 to 2004, wrote a letter to TSA Director uh, Bukowski expressing outrage at Gabbard's addition to the list and asking for explanation why she was included.
That is
Says,
insane.
it says on August 10th, Gabbard returned to Ingraham Angle and inserted her addition to so it was on Laura Ingram's program that she asserted her addition to the Quiet Skies list was a clear act of political retribution.
That's where we're at in this country,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And
I mean,
she enlisted after 9/11.
of course she did. Uh, I mean, I want you to think about that. Like, on one hand, you have Kamala, who is a district attorney or She was a district attorney first, right? And then was she the attorney general of California?
She was the attorney general. I believe she was the DA of San Francisco.
All right, yeah, she was definitely a district attorney first, and then she was the attorney general for the state of California, right? That's how it went. But I want you to think
Yeah.
about this. I want you to think about this. When she was the attorney general for California, I mean, she was like notorious for prosecuting third strike offenders, right? Putting them in prison. She was notorious for going after people like in an effort to make herself look good, right? Um, and she's obviously against that now. She says she's against it now, but also, I mean, the Planned Parenthood thing, right? She went after those guys for the Center for Medical Progress, those guys who snuck into a Planned Parenthood, worked their way in, and got video of the fetal tissue stuff where they're aborting fetuses pretty much completely intact, trying to get them completely intact, and then selling them off to research groups, right? And she went after those guys as like uh, as a favor to Planned Parenthood, right? So, I mean, this is
Mhm.
the type of person we're talking about. She can weaponize a system when it benefits her, and there's no repercussions for whoever it is that's providing the benefit, right? So the
Well,
whole like, what do you got?
I just want to tie this back to Tulsi a little bit more. Remember in that debate, and she went after
Yes,
her about the 1,500
yes,
people that she put away on marijuana charges,
marijuana charges, third
right?
strike
And
marijuana
then
charge.
and she specifically said, and then you went on to a radio show and laughed about it about
Laughed.
smoking weed. And
Hmm.
so she challenged her on that, and then she also called her out for withholding evidence for a death row
Yeah, an inmate, right?
case, right? Evidence that was going to help exonerate him,
Right, and that's
and
who this person
she
is.
withheld it until the court required it to come out.
I mean, so is there any doubt in your mind, knowing that Tulsi is now on the whatever it is, the
The
watch list, the
quiet skies
Quiet
list or
Skies
whatever.
list? Yeah. I mean,
The
is there
new
any doubt in your mind where it came from?
No, not at
When
all.
you see the history and the pattern that Kamala has had, Kamala, we said we decided Kamala.
Dude, I
But
do the same thing. I say both all the time.
it's so hard.
I
I'm
know.
trying to get it right.
I'm trying to be respectful, right? Like
I'm trying to get it right.
it's your
Not
name.
not that I care about being respectful to her, but
Eh,
uh,
respect's
I'm
a good thing.
I'm trying to get it right. Uh, I just the stuff she's done and like you said, she's laughed about it. That's just a shitty human being. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's
yeah.
like that's just not okay. But there's no doubt in my mind the system at every stage of the game is being weaponized, whether it's going after Donald Trump, right? Whether it's the FBI going after Donald Trump, whether it's the State Department going after Donald Trump, the DOJ going after Donald Trump. Uh, it doesn't matter at all systems. It seems like anybody who stands up to these people, and these people, Kamala's not alone, right? Joe Biden was just as sleazy. Hillary Clinton was just as sleazy.
Yeah, this isn't a new problem. It's
Right.
just it has exponentially increased, right? It's almost
Absolutely.
every one of
Absolutely.
Biden's cabinet secretaries
Well, I mean,
is their department. I mean, I was looking up the cabinets, because you miss a bunch of the weird ones, right?
mhm.
But um, dude, health and human services, that's a shit show. DOJ, I mean, like all these things, the Veterans Affairs, uh, um, the Interior, the um, oh, now I'm blanking, but that you can just once you pull them up, energy,
It's almost like
uh,
you can pick one of
yeah,
his.
you just pick one. Like someone can throw something out, and you will have an example of something that somebody has done that's like, what the hell? How did we get to where we're at?
And that's my thing, man. Like, what do you do in this regard? It's so bad, and it's almost at every freaking level. The system's broke. It's been weaponized. It's being used for personal gain. It's not representing the people anymore. You know what I mean? We, the people, we've been turned into, you know, a workhorse for the engine, right? That's all it is. And they just spend and spend and spend, do whatever they want, care absolutely nothing about the suffering that we have, right?
Mhm.
The suffering that is going on day to day by, blue collar folks that are going to their job, coming home, and then having to figure out, do I need a second job? How am I going to make this bill work? How am I going to pay this? How am I going to, it's another $150 at the grocery store, and another $25 at the gas station, and it's everything else is added. And these people just don't care. And then you see on the side of it, like, you look at their history, you could take any one of them at this point in any part of his cabinet and any part of the administration, go back and look, and you'd be like, what the hell did he do? What the hell did she do? What have they done in their past? That you said what? You've done what? I mean, it's over and over and over again. And I'll be honest with you, you go down the Democrat Party and it doesn't get much better. You can pick out just about anybody from the Democrat Party and be like, are you kidding me? And for that matter, from the freaking Republican Party too. I mean, you go down the list and you're like, are you serious? You said this, you did this, you supported this. Are you serious?
No.
I mean, it's broken, bro. I mean, at what point, right? I mean, I just want to have you ever throughout your life seen so many institutions that are corrupt? Or did we just not know? Has it always been there? We just didn't know?
I don't think it was at this scale, but like we had Lois Lerner in the IRS with Obama, right? Like, and there, I'm sure you could go back and look at Iran Contra, right?
Yeah.
Like there's been shit everywhere in every administration. It just has not been almost. I mean, so I pulled up the list because it was driving me crazy. Agriculture, commerce, defense, education, energy, health and human services, homeland security, housing and urban development, interior, labor, state, transportation, treasury, veterans affairs, and the attorney general. You
pick one that doesn't have a scandal.
Well,
pick one.
eliminate the ones that aren't talked about, right? Like housing and urban development. I'm sure there's something there, but
mortgage rates.
Yeah. Well, that's also Treasury. Treasury does the mortgage rates are because of the interest, which is Treasury.
It bleeds over because there's no affordable housing. So I mean, what do you do? They're supposed to work together to bring this down, and they're not, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Everything is it's almost like, again, we've talked about in the past, the Davos Group, the World Economic Forum. You'll have nothing, you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. It's almost like they're trying to push us to that point because it's going to get to a point where we can't afford to have anything. If your mortgage rate is, I mean, mine's astronomically high, and it shouldn't be, right? But my house was expensive, and it shouldn't have been. My house is probably $100,000 more than it should be.
100%.
My mortgage rate's probably $700, $800 more than it should be. That has exploded. I mean, just absolutely exploded. I don't know, man. When you go down the list again, I'm gonna go down the list again because this just frustrates me. Electricity is up 29.3%. It's more expensive, right? Gasoline's up 47.8%. It's more expensive than in 2020. Natural gas 26.9% more expensive than in 2020. Eggs 49.3%. Milk 15%. Chicken 23.9%. Used cars 20.9%. Airfare 32.7%, and transportation accessory needs 32.5%. Everything is up a ridiculous amount, and nobody cares. And at the same time, you're getting all the corruption that you see, all the targeting, all the using these places, every piece of the administration to it's like a blunt force object to use against your political opponent. You know what I mean? When did the welfare of the American public and the American dream become a weapon at the executive branch or the legislative branch?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is the hallmark of a broken, corrupt system. And I mean, I don't know. Like we're slipping over the edge. We're about ready to fall off the ledge. Like we're hanging on by our fingertips and we're about to fall into the abyss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I honestly, part of me thinks that you've seen this stuff out there about Biden not having cabinet level meetings, right?
Yeah.
Like the cabinet, and when they did, the cabinet secretaries were given questions to ask or whatever. They gave what they were going to say to the president, and then he knew, right?
Because the press pool's in there, so he has to have it that way.
Yep. So it almost feels like, are these guys just doing it on, like, they see other departments doing it and they're like, oh, this is the plan. Like, because there's no direction, or what is it?
I don't know, man. That's a great question. Who is it? The blind leading the blind, or
Is
is
it
everybody just doing it themselves?
is it one dude that got direction? Like the lawfare thing is clearly orchestrated. There's the visitor logs from the White House that have Fanny and Bragg and all this shit. Like they were all there. Not at the same time. That'd been
Right,
too easy.
right,
But they've been there.
right. There's no doubt in
The
my
number
mind.
3 person in the DOJ went
Yeah,
to fucking
went to
work for
work.
Bragg.
Right. There's no
No,
way that this
no,
wasn't organized at some level. My
right.
question is, was
So
Biden in on it, or is this just the DOJ deciding on their own? You know what I
so
mean?
that's what, and then you see the other secretaries are like, oh, okay, this is the play. And do they just go out on their own and do it? Or
Right.
is there a fucking
Is there somebody else pulling the
I
strings?
don't know. There's got to be
Th-
somebody pulling the string. You would think there's somebody pulling the strings, but at the same time, this White House is such a disaster right now that it wouldn't shock me that everybody's like, "Wow, I thought that was just the thing."
Well, I know I mean, it seems like either one is plausible, but think about this for a
Mhm.
second. Let me just throw some conspiracy on this for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah,
What better situation could you possibly have if you're the string puller than to have a guy who's got dementia, who's an empty vessel that you're never going to be able to put in prison, who's probably got 2 years max left to live, right? Than to basically have him as your patsy. He's your fall guy. You could do whatever the hell you wanted. You could go after whoever you wanted, do whatever you wanted. And as long as your people in the administration at each level, Mayorkas and uh, whoever it is, right? Just taking Mayorkas, for example, and say, well, Biden told me so. Nobody would believe Biden that he said, no, I never said that. You know what I mean? Because he can't remember. It's the perfect situation if you're going to have a Manchurian candidate. The absolute perfect situation. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
100%.
what are you going to do? Are you going to put Biden in prison? The guy can't even remember half the time how to get off stage, right? He's got to have things written down in front of him. He gets lost in the middle of speeches. I, it's the perfect situation if you're going to have a Manchurian candidate because he doesn't even know he's a Manchurian candidate. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
he can't even be like, well, I was being used. So I
Yeah,
mean, this goes back to what you were saying before, where like, yeah, they wrote that letter on their own, and just forced his hand. Now, if you think about it this way, maybe that does make a little bit more sense that they did that. You know
I
what I
knew
mean?
I'd
Because
get you. I knew I'd get you there.
he's the perfect Manchurian candidate.
Yeah, yeah,
I hate that. I hate thinking that because that's a scary thought, bro. Like if that's as far as we've come, if that's reality, like just
hmm
step into that conspiracy reality for a minute. Just make that real, right? If that's reality and this guy is being used and set up and there's somebody else, Obama or whoever else, running a shadow government, making all the policy decisions, they don't have to bear any of the consequences, and they've got their fall guy set up. The ramifications of what could come out of that are absolutely terrifying.
yep,
There is no decision that could be off the table. You know what I mean?
yep.
That is
I hear you.
that's horrifying.
Hmm
And I mean, you see, like, okay, I'm going to green light the DOJ to go after Trump in every aspect. I'm going to have all these district attorneys talk with me. I'm going to have them all come out, and we're going to link up, and we're going to put our number 3 attorney at the DOJ. We're going to send him down to you and be like the fourth in charge on your legal team, taking a massive step down from where he is. And we're going to get Trump. And if that doesn't work, we're going to do this. And then, like, it just, I just never thought we'd get to this point. Like, let me, serious question now, like, no BS.
hmm
You think just as much as I do that everything is just, it's so corrupt right now, right?
hmm
And you think we're going off an edge, right? We're about to fall off the ledge.
Yeah.
How long do you think it's going to be until we've hit the point of no return where nothing can be fixed, where we're just too far gone?
So, 10 years, I think. Um, I think we have 10 more years. And I think that's
That's
10
terrifying.
years to fix the departments as they are now. Otherwise, you're going to have to just like scrap them all and start over.
Because the rot will have festered. It's just too much, right?
Correct. Correct. I think currently if you were able to get in there and reduce, change all your political appointees, obviously. I mean, get rid of everyone. I don't care if you think they're a Republican or you think whatever, they're middle of the road, like they're fine. I would get rid of every fucking one of them. And then you've got to get that down. You somehow have to figure out how to eliminate position, restructure it. Do it from a way, because you can't just fire people, right? Civil service. It's almost impossible. So you do it in a way as budget cuts,
That's
right?
what I was just gonna say. Yeah.
So you start merging and consolidating departments, not departments as a whole, but like departments within FBI and DO, like all those
Right.
smaller departments. I'm not talking about the department as in like the secretary level position. I'm talking like middle management. You merge all those people and then you give it to the best person. And then you've got your political appointees that are hopefully middle, like they care more about the job than about whatever, to not, because if you just put in someone that's going to be like, yep, we're going the other way, it's less than 10 years. It's 6 years, like the next presidential election, because it's going to swing the other way just as bad. You have to put people in. Right? Yep. You have to put people in that are going to fix it, not just fix it for one party.
I don't even know how that, I guess for me, I don't even know how we're going to fit. Like it doesn't, it just feels like, everything is so dirty right now. It just feels like it can't be fixed.
It is. I mean, look at, I mean, we don't even need to talk about DOJ with the lawfare, right?
Right.
Education, the Title IX trans stuff, right?
Yep.
All those controversies. Defense, we know what's going on there. The DEI stuff, the Afghan withdrawal, the everything, right? Energy. Getting rid of oil permits and then saying, well, we didn't. No, there's still permits there. They're giving them permits for shit that doesn't have oil.
Killing, fracking, taking away drilling rights,
everything. The carbon stuff, the getting rid of gas plants,
tapping our Federal Reserves, and then saying they just came out and said they've refilled our strategic reserve. Did you see that? They've spent over 200 million barrels, and they're like, yeah, we filled the strategic reserve. They put 40 million back. Okay, all right, but
my favorite's when he sold them before.
Right. Yeah, just 1 cent. 1 cent, just so you can have a happy 4th of July and bringing down the gas prices. I've released another 50 million barrels. Oh yeah, have fun. Gas went from 350 to 349. Thanks, Joe.
Well, don't forget he sold them when the oil was super high. Remember?
Right.
He sold part of the reserve to make money, and then they bought it when it was down again.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do, but
we'll see.
That's what Trump did when he filled it, but that's not what happened with Biden. Or we haven't had it happen with Biden. And 40 million barrels isn't filling the 200 you left.
No. So Health and Human Services, right? Lots of stuff with COVID. All that stuff, that's the pandemic stuff. And then also the trans issues. Going after schools and parents and all this stuff. Homeland Security, the border, Secret Service. I mean, transportation, it took them how long to get to East Palestine in Ohio? Not in East Palestine there, Biden.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, you just go down the list. I didn't talk about veteran affairs. We could. I didn't talk about agriculture. Again, we could. Like the labor and the housing and urban development.
Yeah, HUD is crashing since Carson left. That's terrible. Man, when you put things in perspective, it is not a very peachy outlook. And
don't forget Treasury. I forgot Treasury.
Oh yeah, don't forget that.
We got all that shit to deal with there too.
DJT coming in, if he wins, is gonna have a hell of a lot of ground to make up. And this really sucks because, like we talked about, that Elon and Trump were talking $1 trillion every 100 days. No matter what, Trump comes in and he's already behind the 8 ball. He's gonna have to spend money to fix what has been fucked up. He's gonna have to He's gonna have to spend money and cut regulation just so that we can get gas prices down, just so that people can live again.
Yeah, for sure. There's going to be definitely going to be the first budget at least is going to have to be higher to fix the shit that they did again with the military and trying to get things back in place so that we can go back and fix these departments. But you look at like when they were talking, Trump and Elon's like, he's like, well, maybe I should put you in charge of figuring that out. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to. Like
Right.
he's like, oh, holy shit, did you just say that? Yes, we're gonna get you elected now. And honestly, like put him and Vivek into it.
Oh,
You
they'd be
two
good together.
figure this out. And I mean, Department of Education, put it. We talked about it.
School
Like,
choice.
send it back to the states.
Get to the states and give
Send
school
it back
choice.
to the states.
Let the money follow the kids and let the states decide
Look
where
at
they're gonna go.
look at how many people you pay in Washington that you don't need to.
I mean,
Send it back to the states.
that's the thing I was gonna say. Like, the government has gotten so over bloated, right? I mean, it is like the
Yes.
largest employer in the entire country is the federal government, and it doesn't need to be. You
Yeah.
don't need 30,000 FBI agents. You don't need,
Mm-mm.
I mean, you don't need, I mean, everyone's got this whole pressing issue like, oh my God, the FBI, it's so needed, it's so needed. Is it so needed that they've changed from investigating terrorists to freaking moms at a school board? You think you need that many? Like, if
Right.
you have that many FBI agents that you've got a couple laying around to go investigate a school board, I think you have too many fucking FBI agents, right? I
Well,
mean,
and all
it's
the
just to the it's to the point now where it's like every step of the way, there's just bloat and rot in all of these administrations, all of these jobs.
yeah, and you got the FBI going and talking to people about Facebook posts that they posted. Like that's yes, they're not getting charged, but the FBI is definitely intimidating people. Like
Right,
you've seen the videos.
right.
Let me
Why?
see your badge, and they won't do it.
Right.
They won't do it. I
I'm
told
here.
Brenda. I
I'm
said,
here to talk to you about Facebook posts that you made. I'm here to
yeah,
talk to you about this. You're here to like listen to me tell you to go
yeah,
fuck yourself.
yeah,
Goodbye.
yeah. I told Brenda if that happens, just call. We have somebody we call an uncle. He's not a good friend. That's a sergeant at the police department. So just call him and say, "There's 3 guys with guns on my porch," and then we'll see. Well,
Right.
they refuse to ID themselves. I could see the gun, but they refuse. They would not show me their ID. We have a ring. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I I am fortunate enough to live in a county where if the FBI showed up unannounced and were trying to pressure me into doing something, if I
Mhm.
called the county, the sheriff would be like, "This ain't your jurisdiction, boys. Pound sand. Get out of here."
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, I just for somebody putting up, and I get like some posts are going to be flagged and looked at, right? If you're making threats, if you're making
Of
terroristic threats,
of course, that's very different.
but if you're saying the school board's broken and the system needs to be fixed and the FBI shows up, it's
Mhm.
the Elon tweet that he put out. Take a little step back and politely go fuck your own face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I don't want any like that is not the country. That's certainly not the country I went to combat for to have. Like when our generation with the war on terror, we went because we thought our way of life was in danger from terrorists. It turns out less than 20 years later, our way of life isn't in danger from terrorists, it's politicians. Our way of life is in danger because of corrupt ass politicians. And I never would have thought in 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, never would have thought ever at any point in time, like, oh, you know what? When I get home and I'm settled down and married and have a family of my own and I've well under my way to, trying to live into my peaceful years, that I'd have to worry about the fucking FBI showing up at my door
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want my kid to have a kitty litter box in the fucking bathroom and some guy who's got a 5-day freaking beard walk in and piss with her. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought? I
For
never,
sure.
ever would have thought that. How far and how crazy we have gone in that short time and how much rot and bloat we have in our federal systems is absolutely disgusting.
Well, think
10
about
years
all
is
this
terrifying.
stuff. Think about all this stuff with how we got here or how you and I got to talking about this with Tulsi, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about all the things that have come out, right? Like all
Mhm.
these things are what you would have considered in a normal year an October surprise, right?
Yeah.
Like These
Yeah,
are all things, and it's August. Like, and there's more that's going to come out,
bro, it's
right?
gonna be a
Like,
tie. It's gonna be
it's
it's
yeah. I've been
gonna be a
saying it, man.
tie.
Like, that's the only thing we're missing is a 269 tie, or if RFK somehow sneaks one out, a small state, 268 3,
Oh my gosh. Can
right?
you
Or
imagine?
no,
Can
I
you
guess that doesn't work, does it? He'd have
no.
to win a fourth state, right?
Yep.
How many is it? It's 271 to win.
Mhm.
So what is that? I don't know. I'm not smart enough.
I
Anyways,
get where you're going. If he pulled
you
out
can,
enough to take an even amount away from both and still had that, you'd be.
yeah, if you can take an odd number out, right? You take out the 3,
Mhm.
and now you can only get your max you can get is 268. Like, the hell happens?
I don't have an answer for you. I
Right?
mean,
Because yeah, no, that would
Civil
be it.
War,
268 3. Right? So
a
then
Civil War.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, at this stage of the game, you already have Raskin saying they're going to 14th Amendment no matter what. So I mean, you'd have
Raskin can say whatever he wants, but it's the new Congress, right? So
yeah,
it's the new
absolutely.
Congress that would vote. So
But I'm just thinking like the last time Trump won, all the people in the streets that were screaming with like pink pussy hats on and just losing their ever loving minds. I mean, the YouTube was absolutely awesome for like
mhm.
3 months was absolutely awesome. You had Madonna saying she's going to blow up the White House. You had Johnny Depp saying, when's the last time an actor killed a president? You had all this crap going on. I mean, these people are fucking morons and they come out and say stuff like that, right? Um,
Mhm.
I don't know, like this time around, they already tried to take a shot at him.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
nothing for another crazy like that to try to do it again at like the inauguration, or who knows, maybe a group of the crazies try to do it at the inauguration. Like, who knows? You don't know. And it's not that far fetched. And that's what happens. Like I said, if the media paints you out to be an absolute enemy, you're the villain, you're the Nazi, there's going to be someone who wants to play the hero on that side. You know what I mean? And it would be the same on our side. If we were saying Joe Biden was a Nazi, somebody would want to play the hero on our side, right? To
yeah,
save democracy, right? So
yeah. I mean, we'll
this is,
see. We'll see what happens. Like, something crazy is going to happen in
bro,
October,
it's,
September.
well, probably September, right? I mean, you know what's coming. You've said it a lot in person, not on the pod so much so far, but we've talked about it a lot in person. You know what's coming.
Yeah, there's rumors. There's a bunch of leaks out there that Rikers Island has created an area for him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep. I mean, we'll see what happens.
mhm.
I just can't even fucking. How the fuck did we get here? Like, hey,
Yeah,
you know what? Every system is corrupt. We're gonna weaponize everything, and we're gonna take you down, Nelson Mandela. Like, how the fuck did we get here?
hmm, yeah. It's interesting for sure.
It's scary.
Hmm,
That would be insane.
hmm.
We can't even really speculate what this October surprise is going to be, but if history has anything to do with it, it's going to be something insane.
Yeah,
We've already had so much happen. I don't even know what would be coming here in this next time around.
yeah. I have no idea.
Oof.
It will be significant to make a difference in this race.
Man, with as messed up as everything has been, and it not just, I mean, this has gone on for now 8 years under Obama, 4 years under Trump, now 4 years under Biden. So 16 years of BS that we've put up with. Like you brought up Lois Lerner, that was almost 14 years ago, 12 years ago, maybe.
Hmm.
This stuff has been going on for a long time. And one could argue it even went back to George W. Bush with the Patriot Act with 9/11, where you're taking, you know, and surveilling American citizens. This has gone on now for a long, long damn time where things have been broken.
Hmm.
And you're putting a time frame of 10 years. 10 years, then it's too much.
I mean, on the pace that we're on now, yeah, I think so.
After this 10,
Look at what happened or has happened in the last 5 years or 7 years now since Trump took office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, it's almost like it increased exponentially in the wrong direction. You know what I
So
mean?
the good news quickly,
Yeah.
269 tie.
Mm-hmm.
The House picks the president and the Senate picks the vice president.
Wow.
But they can only vote for the people that have the top 3 electoral votes for that position, right? So like you can't just pick anyone. It
Oh,
has
so
to be
they couldn't just be like
it has to
JFK
it
or
be
RFK.
it'd have to well, I mean if he's one of the top, if he doesn't have any electoral votes, then probably not. But if he wins a state, maybe. I mean, if he wins a state, there's a whole another ball of like then you could get to less than a 269 tie.
Oh my gosh. If he plays the
Like
spoiler.
look, if he just wins like so they were saying that about uh what's his name? The libertarian that ran Gary Johnson. If he had
Mm-hmm.
just won Utah, right?
Yeah.
You're getting to you're taking 2 votes away. Then you can get to a 269 tie a lot easier.
I can't even. I don't know that we have
Or
enough.
is it? It's 3. It must be 3 votes because they get 2 senators and 1 representative. So 3 votes. Then you get to a 268 tie basically.
I don't know if we have enough fiber holding this country together right now in the unity category to get to a tie and not come undone.
I'll be honest with you. If it's a tie, people are just going to go get popcorn. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think it's going to be, I don't even think it's going to be like
get
we're
ready
going to
for the
fight. It's going to be
circus.
like, holy shit, let's sit back and see how this plays out.
Yeah. Get ready for the circus because it's going to be nuts.
Democrats and Republicans just send their best person to the circle and you fight to the death.
It's out. Yeah, that's what it's going to come down. Oh, they stood in the streets for days when Trump got elected last time and screamed. Can you imagine if it's a tie and they end up losing on a vote in the freaking House? Real question is how many Republicans actually stay the course and vote him? They could vote him off the island. He's not going to run a third time. He can't. He's by that time he'll be too old. So they could very well, the uniparty people could be like, no, we're not voting for him.
So this says that you need 51 votes for the Senate. So you have to have 51 votes. You have to have the majority.
Ouch.
So I don't know what would happen then. I think you'd just get the 2 that would flip. They're out anyway.
My Lord, man. This.
Because at that point they'd be voting for Walz or JD Vance. And they're not going to vote for Walz.
Yeah.
Cinema and Manchin. They're not going to vote for Walz.
They're not fans.
No.
We might have to get the popcorn early because I think it's going to get real crazy come mid-September.
Well, no. What do we have in September? Maybe it's a September surprise. Trump's going to get sentenced to prison.
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
Right. So we find out on Friday on the if they're gonna whatever because of the immunity case,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously he's going to vote again, say no, right? Because they've already said we're going forward with sentencing on the 16th of September. So or the 18th of September. So the 16th of August is just gonna be like, look, I've already decided that this doesn't apply. Even though most of it was about his official acts in the White House.
Right.
Like the conversations he had and people that were in the White House. So, but at the same time, he's also not going to go to prison because they'll put him on bail immediately so he can appeal. Like it's just going to be what it is.
How do you put somebody on bail?
To appeal your sentence. They've already I just read an article today from Andrew McCarthy that said they're going to sentence him to prison. However, he'll be out on bail until the appeals goes through.
You can bail yourself out of prison?
Well,
he'll be out on appeal.
He'll be out until the appeals are done because I would imagine it's because of the nature of the crime more than anything else, right? Like it's not a violent crime
The nature of a crime that wasn't a crime, but somehow is a crime that nobody can explain why it is a crime
that had expired in the
that had
statute of
expired.
limitations.
I
Yeah.
forgot that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don't forget that part.
Don't forget that part. Yeah, man. So I guess I never. I mean, I knew people would uh appeal, but I didn't know you'd be out on appeal and just wait for that to happen. But
And that's what Andrew McCarthy said. And I mean, he was a federal prosecutor, so
yeah, obviously
he would
right?
know.
He
Yeah.
knows some things about some things. That's crazy.
But he also said it doesn't matter. That's all going to get thrown out. Like there were three different cases or two different cases that he cited. One was the immunity case in the Supreme Court, but there was another one that and now I forget it, but there was another case that he thought was um more directly applied to that they just settled. And that was, oh man, let me look it up.
They're just adding more fuel to Trump's fire. It was a bad move to sentence
But
him.
dude, if they sentence him to jail, like, I don't know.
It was just a bad move. He's already been survived an assassination attempt. Everything they've done with their lawfare has only failed. Now, if you sentence him to prison time, you're just. At what point does the look just become so tainted? It's just a terrible look, a terrible play. You should just stop. Side note, I've had multiple people send me this video of the Taliban having a parade today.
Oh yeah, of all of our stuff that we left.
The amount of equipment that they rolled down the road with of American equipment is astounding.
Mm-hmm.
Holy balls. Is this a Trump campaign ad?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean,
I don't
this
know
is
how
gonna
it
be.
isn't. Okay, so the court case that he said, this is Andrew McCarthy, said in fact, my own view is that even more than the Supreme Court's immunity decision, another of its late term rulings will bolster Trump's eventual appeal. The Erlinger versus the United States. There, the court reaffirmed that in criminal cases, important proof, oh, that's what it was. Important proof of elements affecting the potential sentence must be found unanimously by the jury. So remember, they didn't have to find it unanimous.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that's insane.
Yep. They basically went on to say that, like, it's going to get thrown out. And that's not it. The point is that it will give them time to say, right as that happens 2 days after early voting starts in Pennsylvania. And so they'll be able to say he's
going to prison.
He's going to prison. And
Yep.
what can you do? Well, I mean, there's nothing you can do to that judge. Nothing. Like there's no process for them to go after the judge on, like, I mean, I'm sure there's like you'd have to do it through the ethics complaints, but there's nothing like New York's not going to do anything, and you've got no legal grounds. Not that I'm aware of. You don't have legal grounds. Maybe you do. Maybe there is something, but I mean, it's blatantly obvious at this point. But I think he wins easily if they sentence him to prison, which is why I kind of don't think they're going to. They're going to give him like probation or something. So he's still found guilty of it. Give him a fine, all sorts of shit, and they're whatever.
I mean, that would be the smart play, right? To try not to make him a martyr.
Mm-hmm.
But they're so deranged with their anti-Trump agenda that they're probably looking like he's the next assassin, only it's a political assassin instead of an actual assassination. I think they're so caught up in this hatred for Trump at every level that I don't think they can help themselves. I think they're going to absolutely do whatever they think they can. I think the smart play, like you said, is not make him a martyr. It's to let it pass and just say, well, he was guilty.
Hmm.
And that's enough. Time served. I don't even if you
Hmm.
times served any time.
About
Parole or whatever,
three,
probation.
three, 3 hours while he was getting booked, maybe.
That photo.
Yeah.
That photo that made it all around the freaking country and
Well, Trump used it for campaigning or
mhm,
for fundraising, and they killed off of it.
yeah. You want to talk about just a year of iconic photos? Trump is killing it in that category.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like New York Times doesn't put the cover on the front, or it was Time magazine didn't put the cover on the front of the magazine.
Yeah. They removed the picture.
One of the most important things that's happened in political history, the recent history, they didn't. No, we're not putting it on there because it could help elevate Trump to a win. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that,
That's why they're a dead industry.
yeah, well, 10 years from now, 20 years, well, probably like 30, 40, 50 years from now, when we're old, we're, knocking on death's door. History's going to
Man,
look back.
there's no chance I'm here in 50 years.
You don't know that.
Dude,
You don't.
I'm beyond halfway to dead now. Like another 50 years,
Well,
there's
so
zero chance.
you're beyond halfway or you're halfway?
I think I'm beyond I'm probably 12 years into halfway to dead. With my blood pressure, no,
You're,
there's no chance.
you don't know. You'll be all right. I think you probably got 7 good years left.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Uh,
I might make it to retirement age. I might.
you'll be all right. You
We'll see.
gotta, you gotta have positivity for the long game.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm positive I'm not going to be there.
Oh man. Well, hey,
It's been
uh,
fun.
I like to. Hey, you had a podcast for a couple days.
A couple months.
Yeah, there's gonna be 32 people who heard you predict this.
33.
Oh wow,
Well,
growing.
actually, I think one of them's you, so the 32 is
Yeah,
probably more right.
yeah, right. That's hilarious. Yeah, I can't imagine looking back on this. Like history is gonna look back on this and be like, yeah, that was a great time. Those people were really genius.
Mhm. Yeah, like what the fuck are you thinking?
I mean, just picture that. Like we're 70 years old. What do you think the world is gonna be like? How are they gonna look back at this and think, oh, that was a crazy time? The FBI was targeting a president, like the DOJ was targeting a former president, and social media sites are being manipulated by the FBI and by the DOJ and by everybody at the. I mean,
Well, you can look at it like this. We're either going to tell a story about how this started the change back, or we're going to be sitting in a gulag somewhere because, our mouths.
yeah, you're right. We're not going to make it 7 years.
Mm-mm.
There's no way. I won't. I'm not going to sit in a gulag.
No, no. I didn't think you would. I would
Mm-mm.
just, that's where we would be if we were there to talk about it.
Yep, we'd be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be one or the other. We're either successful or we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there is the most important thing I think that we have said all throughout any of these podcasts is we're either going to make it as a country or not. And I think it starts with this election cycle. You know what I mean? I think and I'm not saying Donald Trump is going to solve every single problem, but I'm hoping that he starts
Well,
the trend with
he
people.
can't. He's only got 4 years. There's no
Right.
chance you can do all of that in 4 years.
Not even close. But I'm
Mm-mm.
hoping you start the process and bring back a little bit of, I don't know, sanity to our government and put us in a trajectory where the next guy like a JD Vance can take over for 8 years and
Mm-hmm.
put a dent in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because man, that is a scary thought.
Yep. I think if you got term limits and you got um the no insider trading for Congress, I think that would be if you got those two things in the 4 years, you that's a hell of a start.
Yeah, I think that has to be it. I mean, you have to get that going. You want to hear something messed up?
Yeah.
So my 15-year-old was talking about with my wife and I about joining the military.
Mm.
And my wife said, absolutely not.
Hmm.
And she said, why not? And my wife goes, because I can absolutely see what happens. You join the military, and in 8 years, your dad's going to shoot you because we're in the Civil War. And I'm like, oh, well, that's really
Yeah.
messed up.
I didn't see it going that way.
No. And then my daughter's like, well, I wouldn't fight for them if that were the case. I wouldn't fight in a Civil War. That would never happen. And I was like, all right, you get it. I think you get it. But the fact that my wife would be like, there's no way, because we're going to be fighting our own government in 8 years anyway.
Hmm.
That's so fucked up.
Hmm.
I don't know. Pray, man. We got to pray. That's what it comes down to. Everybody say your prayers, man, because we need something big to happen in our favor.
Yep, for sure.
Well, this is a kind of a Debbie Downer of a
Yeah, we didn't even get to the UK stuff. Really. I mean, we touched on it, but
the UK stuff is so crazy.
yeah.
We'll
Yep.
we'll have to save it for tomorrow night.
Maybe. Oh, wait. I mean, we touched on it enough. There's not much more you need to say. They're going after people for posting on Facebook and giving them like substantial prison sentences. So,
It's
uh,
insane.
yeah, it's crazy, but that's where we're headed.
That's the
Remember
model.
remember they're like what, 8 years, 10 years ahead of us.
Hmm.
So there's your 10 years.
Between the UK and Australia, I mean, it is insane
Hmm.
how they treat their people.
You look at like the trans movement and that they're now coming down from that. Like all the studies coming out saying this is not good, and
Hmm.
with the gender affirming care for minors, like you can't let minors make that critical decision at such a young age.
I saw a doctor from over there give the most compelling argument why you shouldn't transition your kids early, and it's not what you think it would be.
Mm.
Has nothing to do with philosophy or belief. She said if your kid is actually trans and they really do think that they should be a female if they're a boy, if you go in and give them hormone blockers, you stop puberty, and you're going to turn them into a female after. And if they really want the surgery, they won't have, because you stop growth of your genitalia with the hormone blockers before puberty.
Mhm.
So you won't have the necessary equipment needed to invert into a vagina. So
Mm.
then you're stuck. You're
Interesting.
you're stuck there, right? And she said then
Interesting.
the surgery that would have to happen would be 1,000 times more invasive and complicated, and what would
Hmm.
come out of that would look terrible.
Hmm.
And so she's like, if they're really serious about it, you have to let them go through puberty. Then you put them on the hormone therapy after puberty. Then they go get the surgery done. Then they look normal.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
If you block someone's growth in puberty by blocking their hormones, well, oh boy.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Interesting.
you're right. They're so far ahead. They've already seen
Well,
the
they
bad
just had
stuff.
that cast survey come out that everybody's citing here to look at it. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
In typical America fashion, they'll be over this whole thing and be back to trying to provide freedom, and we'll just be going into full tyranny like they are right now.
Well, they've never really had the full freedom, right?
No,
You
not
can you couldn't say anything against the crown. You couldn't all that shit. So, uh,
what do you think?
that's why we threw tea in the harbor, right?
Right. What do you think's worse, never having it and going where they're going and then coming back, or having it and getting it taken away?
Oh, having it's way worse
Hmm.
because that's just going to be way more fighting, right?
Yeah, I mean you can't.
So if you don't ever have it, you don't know.
Right. I just see it coming, man. I just sad day.
Hmm. Yeah.
10 years. You shocked me with the 10 years.
Yep. That's what I think. No, that's not saying in 10 years we're going to be a full-fledged civil war. I think in 10 years you can't fix it without shutting everything down. Right? Like you can't fix it from the inside.
Yeah, and I don't think you can fix it from the outside if you can't, you know what I mean? At
From
that
in
point, it's
within
just
10 years, yeah, no, for sure. But right now you can because you just got to get rid of all the political people and start promoting rank and file and bringing it back to what it was supposed to be. The FBI never was an agency that you could trust. They
from the inception.
immediately started blackmailing people and creating basically dossiers on everyone.
Hoover
Yep.
files.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And he bragged about it.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Most
So,
influential man in Washington.
hmm
Uh,
so let's not
that's
act like the FBI was ever a legitimately,
decent.
yeah, I was trying to come up with a better word than that, but decent's it.
Yeah. I just, yeah, I mean, you never see this coming as a kid, obviously, right? Like,
Mhm.
I mean, how many times as a kid did you pretend to be a cop or an FBI agent doing some crazy stuff or whatever? Because, that's what Hollywood taught us.
Mhm.
That's what our parents taught us. That's what, these people were like the best of the best with investigations, and they were the righteous fighters of, morality. And now you see it's just like a cesspool.
Yeah.
And only, like you said, only at the top levels. The rank and file, I'm sure, are great people trying to do a good job.
Well, like you even said about the Secret Service agent that was waved through, right?
Hmm.
The DEI hire.
Still tried to do her job.
She still tried to do her job.
Still tried to do her job.
So, like, you still have that with the rank and file. It's
Hmm.
the political appointees and the people that they hire below them.
Right.
I mean, yes, you're going to have issues with not necessarily with the people themselves, but with the standards being changed. You're going to have to go back to that, and that's going to cause for people to lose their job. Like
It has
Bongino,
to.
I think Bongino was saying, like, you know, for the Secret Service, like monthly PT tests and all this stuff, like going through all this stuff, regular training, monthly qualifications, firearms, PT, all that. So
Put a
I don't
system in place that's demanding.
know.
And then you get people that can exceed. It
Hmm.
gets rid of the people that can't.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's probably your only way. It's probably the only way you can.
Hmm.
I mean, with the Secret Service, I don't know how the hell you do it with the FBI. I don't know how the hell you do it with the State Department. I don't know how the hell you do it with all these other places, but you have to get rid of, like you said, you get rid of the
So,
political appointees.
some of them are easier than others,
Hmm.
and some of them are just an outright elimination of the department.
That is big moves. You know what though?
That's what they're
That's what
talking about with the Department of Ed, right?
yeah,
Like that's what Elon and Trump talked about, like
that's what it's going to take.
bringing it back to the states. You're not getting rid of the no, you're not talking about getting rid of the funding. You're talking
Nope.
about getting rid of the bureaucracy,
Hmm.
giving the money still to the state and letting the state put it where it needs to go based
Follow
on
the
that
kids,
state's needs.
right? Where it probably should have been the whole time.
Correct. Instead of to somebody who's getting a kickback from some
Some
book
teachers union
group or
somewhere.
some teachers union. Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, you're still going to have that at the state level, but then you have states who are going to do it the right way.
I think it's
And those
easier.
states are going to put the other ones to shame.
I think it's easier to shuck the power of the teachers union at the state level because it's easier to follow education at the state level than it is at a national level.
Getting rid of the national union is probably the biggest thing.
And it'll probably be what's best for our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. That was one thing they talked about that I think was spot on. I mean, there was a lot, but that was one thing that it seems very common sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know why we haven't done it. Well, I mean, I know why we haven't done it because then you create an apparatus in the federal side that provides jobs, provides power, and then you have a union that's always going to back you, whichever party is backed by the union, you have that. It's never going to go away at that point. You know, the Democrats have been receiving,
Right.
you know, a lot of support from teachers union forever.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mean, Trump comes in and he tries to do school choice, which effectively would allow a kid from Minneapolis North to say, I don't want to go to Minneapolis North. I want to be bused over to Bloomington. And the money would follow the child instead
Mm-hmm.
of stay in the school.
Well, giving people the choice for private school too. Money
Right.
follows them.
Right. And they were just, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
It's a broken entity. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just the fact that like you can't do what's right for your kids or what's best for your kids. You can't even do that based off of political affiliation. That shows you enough, you know?
Yeah, it's everything you need to know. So, yep, that's where we're at.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say, bro. Hit him.
Yeah. Check us out. Our website, bluecollartakes.com, Facebook. I think we're on Instagram too. YouTube. You can listen to these on YouTube. You listen on Apple, and Spotify, of course. And what was the fourth one? iHeart. iHeart. Yep. So we're on Truth. We're on everything. Just look for us.
Just find one, type in the words, see what happens.
So,
yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.